poppers or tractors for whips. I'm going to start off, this is 36-pound Kevlar yarn. I'm going to grab it back about 4 inches or 5 inches longer than it needs to be and wrap a couple cubits. And then go out another 6 inches longer than it needs to be. And I'm going to cut and tie the two ends together. Just a simple overhand knot will do it. I'm going to hang this double loop. The loop's about 18 inches long. I hang it on the hook. So that hook is just a little kind of crimped hook that's made out of a coat hanger wire. And we have a spinning hook, which when you spin it in your fingers, it spins the cordage. And so now there's 4 strands of 36-pound yarn. And I'll spin all these counterclockwise and spin them clockwise for the second spin. And I'm going to use my spinning crook. This is something I came up with for spinning it and leaving a loop open. And I tend to overspin these counterclockwise or clockwise. And now what you have is twine. But the twine has twine has 8 strands, so I'm going to use my thumb as a measuring device and let it unspin and flick it till I can grab 1 yarn. So this has 4 yarns in one bundle, in this case on the right side. I'm going to tie a half hitch against the stem. Separate one from the other side and tie a half hitch against the stem. So that leaves about 2.5 inches of feather, and it's a little over 9 inches, about 10 inches long. Take a soda straw, or in this case, a straw from coffee shop, and it does 2 things. One, you can put the eye of the whip into the tube and pull the cracker onto it without having to fuss with a collapsing loop. And so it just makes cracker installation easier. I call these size 8 crackers because there's 8 36-pound Kevlar yarns. But you spin them one way. So right now I'm spinning them counterclockwise. And you put the crook on it and counter spin it. And people spin crackers different ways. This is just how I go about it. Excuse me. And a couple half hitches are about as small of a knot as you can put together that'll hold the feathers. It also makes a very small knot, so should the whip flip around and catch you, 2 half hitches against the stem will hold the feather in place, but not have a big old knot that'll cut you when it comes back, or if it comes back. So people ask, how strong is this 16th inch spun twine? So there's 4 36-pound strands on one side and 4 36-pound strands on the other. So spun together, you have at least 260 pounds of material, and spinning it sometimes increases its strength. So it's pretty strong. And working with yarn is always a challenge because it'll catch on every little bit of rough skin. And any variance in the loop size will show up in the final result. So you try and be as consistent as you can. And you want to get this knot roughly centered at the top. You fold it and counter spin it. spins. This time together. You can control the tension you're pulling on as you're spinning it. Helps make the cracker more consistent. But it's makes some of the prettier kind of crackers. Kevlar is kind of shiny when it's yarn. And that knot that you form just holds the loop together while you spin. And it gets cut off as you go. Fold it, counter spin it. You can make these shapes. These happen to be spring steel, but you can make them with coat hanger wire or any wire you can get hold of. The spring steel does hold its shape better, but it's not necessary. The Kevlar yarn is kind of hard to get because they don't really sell it in small quantities. But once you have it, you have kind of a lifetime supply. And to keep track of how many of these you have, when you reach 5, so there's 5 crackers, you can see that the twine is pretty consistent. Group 5 and set it aside. And spin another 5. usually count how many thumb strokes, but you don't want this to, oops, you don't want this part to start knotting up. You gotta stop before you get that far. Let me counter spin it. And it's faster just to tie an overhand knot or a figure-8 knot, but it makes a big heavy knot. And it reduces the sound a little bit. Disrupting the airflow in a different way. So a couple half hitches do a good job. And the only reason I leave extra on the ends is I want the crackers to be a little bit longer than 9 inches. And when you're spinning Kevlar yarn, like I said, any burrs on your hands, any loose fibers, will mess with it. Like I said, I tend to overspin these. And that seats the twine in a slightly different way. Do you have to do it that way? No. Just as long as you're consistent with what you're doing. You do want to grab one feather from each bundle. We're spinning Kevlar yarn into whip poppers. tie the ends together and you accidentally drop it, you'll notice you have a 3 foot loop. But if you take the ends and rotate it and cross it, you'll have 2 loops. So it's no big deal if you lose. It's no big deal when you just have 2 loops. But you get a little better tension when you don't cut it into 2 3 foot long pieces and try and tie 4 off. That's the 8th cracker. And I can make these super consistent, spinning them by hand. And they'll last quite a while. So, size 8 spun Kevlar crackers are good from any width from about 3 ounces up to about 2 pounds or 3 pounds. So, you get over 3 pounds, over 18 feet, you probably want more yarn in your cracker because it'll just tear it up. Forward, you can see how consistent those are. They're off a little bit, but not terrible. There's the 10th one. So then when you have 10, you can tie an overhand knot to hold them together to fit them in a package. And you can cut down the soda straw. This is a straw from Dutch Bros. So there's a 10-pack of spun Kevlar yarn crackers, size 8. And gotta see if anyone's asking questions. So it took me 30 minutes to spin 10 of them. So I'm going to spin another 10 here. So I leave a tail and spin it around the cubit a couple of times. And my hands always have little burrs that catch the yarn, which is annoying. But my hands are clean and dry. If I stuck some lotion on them, then wouldn't hang up so much, but I'd get some lotion into the Kevlar yarn, and that may or may not be what somebody would want. So there's 4 strands, there's 2 loops of 36-pound Kevlar yarn here. When I can't spin this hardly anymore, while I'm pulling on it, it hasn't buckled and created a knot or anything. But when I have a hard time spinning the spinning loop, then I'll fold it onto the spinning crook and counter spin it. So I went counterclockwise with the little hook. Now I'm going clockwise. What you're doing is you're spinning twine. Although this twine is probably 260 pound or more twine, because there's 8 strands of 36-pound thread. And I measure from the joint on my thumb across the tip of my thumb and let it come apart and come unwound. Sometimes that works better for me than other times. But you want 1 strand of yarn to tie a half hitch against the stem from each side of the feather. And if you get a little more or a little less, it'll be fine, but try not to knock the camera sideways. One reason I made that shape that size is so I can slide a plastic straw and work it onto the plastic straw easily. The reason that this bend comes out this far is so that it doesn't cross, so that it holds that loop open, and it creates a beautiful loop that's easy to install. Not everybody does that, and then they fight the cracker trying to twist itself up while they're trying to put it on a whip. And I wanted to make it easy to install because I hate fighting that thing trying to twist up. And if you don't have a pair of Kevlar scissors or electrician scissors, you can use a scalpel blade or razor blade to cut the Kevlar yarn. There's lots of ways of doing everything. This is just how I go about doing it because it's faster and sort of easier than fighting it. So if it's fighting you, you can open this whole thing up, give it a half twist, and make your loops. There's actually about 12 feet here of Kevlar yarn. And you want to get that knot right up there against the spinning hook or the anchor hook, whatever you want to call it. And that way when you cut it off, you're not throwing away but just a little bit of fluff. And I'm providing counter tension by pulling on stuff that I'm spinning. That allows you to spin really beautiful cordage, even if they're short bits of cordage. So if it doesn't want to come apart, you can flick it. And 2 half hitches is about as small of an anchor knot to hold the feather together. Now, if you want a longer feather, you can just tie this off higher. I just tend to put, 3 fingers worth of feather or 4 fingers worth of feather on the end of the cracker. That provides a nice bright sound for lighter whips. If you put that on a heavier whip, you may want a bigger feather. If you want a less annoying, deeper sound, you'll want a longer feather. Now, I'll show you the scalpel method. You can use a scalpel or a razor blade or a X-Acto blade, and you can cut the material pretty effectively instead of a pair of scissors if you wish. Don't use regular scissors, especially ones that you care about, because you'll destroy them cutting Kevlar yarn. But you don't have to buy expensive Kevlar scissors if you don't need them. The other thing is the half hitches are pretty easy to pick apart if you want to change the feather size. But out of 12 feet, that's the wasted amount, which is almost nothing. And this is an overhand knot against the stem or a half hitch or however you want to think about it. And it'll lock that feather in place. You kind of see the consistency. You don't have to use scissors. Sharp knife will do. Somebody asked me why I don't burn through it. And you can burn through it, but you need a torch. It has to reach almost 900 degrees before it goes. So here's a couple thousand degrees. And it just turns to ash. It's Kevlar, so it takes a lot of heat to destroy Kevlar, and it won't really hold a flame. So just goes to show how strong it is. And what an interesting material it is. I shot a short the other day using a soldering iron and using this Kevlar yarn to patch a suitcase by embedding the fibers with the soldering iron, which was at about 700 degrees. If you have a cracked suitcase, it's plastic that you want to reinforce, or a motorcycle fender or something else. If you want it to be pretty, you do it on the inside where nobody can see. But this is an incredibly tough material that takes a lot of heat to decompose it. People are curious as to how you can do different things. You want to make something like a barber pole cracker and have a spiral down it. You can dye it, or you can surface dye it. The material itself won't soak up dye. These are electrician's scissors. They work pretty good. But for instance, if you want to make one look a little fancier, here's a fun way to do that. If you don't have two different colors or something. This is a coat hanger wire. So here's something funny you can do. So if you spin it, so if you find the midpoint, so the midpoint's right about there, you can, use a Sharpie, and you can try and dye it black just for fun. And then when you fold it, I didn't quite get very much of it. Just so you can see where it ends up. And then when you counter spin it, you can see it turn into a just depends on what you want to do, what you want something to look like. So you can kind of see how the one feather is on one side, one's on the other. I'm not going to use that. I'm not going to send that out. But you can see how it twists around. And if you get a Sharpie on your finger, get it off your finger with a little bit of alcohol or xylene or whatever you particularly want to use to remove it from your finger, and it evaporates off. Like I said, it'll catch every little sharp bit of skin on your hands, every little burr. That's a little bit of rough skin. So you can also just let go of this and it'll spin, but it won't stay as even if you don't keep tension on it and counter spin it. Overspinning it helps it seat a little bit, but I like things to be consistent and pretty where I can. But out of 12 foot of cable, there's 12 foot of kevlar, there's like an inch or so of waste. It's not very much waste. Okay, so there's the first 5 of a 10 pack. Let's slide it down. If you don't wrap it twice, like an overhand knot, but wrap it twice, it will find a way to slip through. And then you want to put that feather with the knot straight up, and it'll get cut off up there. spin it. And 3 more and I'll have another 10 pack done. Most people, crackers are an afterthought. I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to really perfect the crackers I make. Like I've spent more time designing and working on tapered crackers and crazy ideas. Tie off one of the yarns from each side of the feather, or it'll try and untwist. this cracker to the final one that I have to make today. I really should set and do this for a week so I've got stuff in stock. But I never do. It's not. Okay, so we've got 4 and 5, so that's 9. I need one more. Okay. Twist. And you can make these tools out of coat hanger wire. These happen to be made out of spring steel that I heated up in a propane torch and bent into the shape that I wanted. Alrighty. Now we have 5 and 5 is 10. And another way to package these up that you can do is you can fold these up and shove them through the straw. And push them through to the other side. And then when you pluck one off the end, it'll make a cinching loop. But I just timing it overhand like that. So there's the result of an hour's worth of work. 2 packs of 8, size 8 spun kevlar crackers, but it takes a couple hours, or it takes an hour to make them.